Can we go from crappy to happy at work? Welcome back to the Hello World Show. I'm Heather Downing.
I'm Spencer Schneidenbach.
And we're here with Kylie Hunt, the workplace happiness guru. And we're here at NDC Oslo interviewing her just after a talk that you gave today, right?
That's right.
Thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you for having me.
So how did you get into this concept in the first place?
I was working in corporate property for 20 years and became desperately unhappy with the corporate culture and with challenging managers and not being able to be the best person I could be in my role. So I kept hitting my head against the glass ceiling and just not getting where I wanted to be. So I was fortunate to be able to move aside from that and now influence from the outside by going around speaking to people about how they can go from crappy to happy in their workplaces and try and put business metrics around it as well. So it's not just, oh, I'm a workplace happiness guru, we all sit down and sing Kumbaya.
Right, Kylie, tell us a little bit about what you want to teach us today.
So what I want to teach you guys today is how you can go from crappy to happy. So we're here at the NDC conference. I just presented yesterday and it was an hour-long presentation that I'm going to sink down into about 5 minutes.
Love it.
And essentially when we have crappiness in our work environment, it's generally because of 4 key areas. The first being we have a really crappy boss. We have a boss that makes us feel unappreciated, unenthusiastic. They just make us feel like crap. The second element is around unfairness. So oftentimes unfairness is something that is quite hard to delineate because it's in the eye of the beholder. So what you might perceive as being unfair might not be something that you perceive as unfair. But when it gets down to people being paid differently for actually the weight that they have, so larger people are paid less on average, which is a really ridiculous thought, as well as people get paid differently depending on the clothes that they wear, or people get paid differently because of their gender. It's just this, it's called unconscious bias. So unfairness comes into it as well. The third element is around work-life balance or work-life blend, integration, call it whatever you like. With the onset of technology and the umbilical cord to work that we have now is longer than ever, I really want to go into this and just try and get rid of this cult of overwork that we seem to have right now. And then finally, just a couple of really quick tips on how we can deal with workplace change, because our workplaces are changing and evolving rapidly now. So what are some tips that we as employees can adopt? So if we just took the first one, so if you have a really crappy boss, and unfortunately the majority of us have had a crappy boss or have seen behaviour that we deem to be not appropriate. What can you do? So the first thing that you can do is write it down. Write down what the issues are. Because when you write it down, it actually helps you be a little bit more objective about it, and you can go and talk to people and say, this is what's happening. Do you think this is reasonable or not? And it helps pass the reasonableness test. The second thing that you need to do is say to your boss, I would like us to go out and have a coffee together to discuss my productivity. Okay, so I want you to actually take the boss out of the work environment, because bosses seem to have this power over us. So there's like this power imbalance that we have. So what I want to do is take that power imbalance away as much as possible and have an equal playing field by going out and having a coffee or tea or whatever it might be. Not alcohol. So
It might make it worse.
Go out. Also, the third element is to think about the timing. So you don't want to grab someone just in the hallway or just before a meeting or something like that. So dedicate actual 10, 15 minutes to go and have a chat. And the way that you phrase it is, when you are having that chat with your boss, you can say, when you do X, it makes me feel Y, which results in Z. And the more Z can relate to business metrics, the more the boss will listen, really, in reality. So that's the key elements there to dealing with the bad boss. And the other thing is, you must deal with the bad boss immediately. So if we have a bad boss and we don't do anything about it, the effects on our body and our mind are cumulative, and it just snowballs, and you might be waiting for them to go and get promoted or go find another job or something like that, but don't, because if you get stuck having a bad boss, getting over a bad boss can take 22 months. So nearly 2 years to get your confidence back again, to get your health back again, your stress levels back to normal. So this is a really quick thing, unfairness. When we're talking about unfairness, as I mentioned, it really comes down to how we perceive fairness ourselves. And every moment, every waking moment, we're exposed to about 11 million bits of information. But our consciousness can only absorb about 40 bits at one time. And that delta, that 99.999%, is dealt with by our unconscious. So, for example, when I am in the middle of my home city and I'm in the main street and I'm trying to find my friend amongst a sea of faces, how do I actually find that particular person? Well, it's by drowning out the things that I perceive are not important and just focusing on finding my friend's face. So when dealing with unfairness, the best thing that you can do is get educated and understand that we are all biased, and we shouldn't be embarrassed about that because everyone is biased. And Google have actually got a fabulous workshop that they do that's actually available online for free called Unconscious Bias at Work. And I highly recommend to your viewers that they might like to look into that a little bit further. Dealing with work-life balance, conscious of time. So the one thing that I would say about work-life balance is to protect your mornings. What I want you to focus on is output, not input. So there's something called the 90-91 rule. For 90 days, you spend your first 90 minutes of your day focusing on your number one priority. Now, if that means that you need to get up early in the morning to be able to do that, that's great. Not all of us can because of kids and single parents and everything like that. It can be a challenge. Last Saturday, my kids got up at 6:01 a.m. because they know that they're allowed out of bed at 6:01. Popped down and watched Scooby-Doo, and instead of me lying in bed going, this is really lovely, I got up and I worked on my NDC tool. And it meant that I had a couple of hours of uninterrupted time. And normally I would have stayed in bed. But protect your mornings, because inevitably there are things that will derail you during the day. So try the 90-91 rule. When it comes to workplace change, this change can be disruptors, or it can be a new role, it can be a new boss, it can be a merger or acquisition that your company is going through. So there are all different levels of changes that we go through, and the pace of change is just rapidly increasing thanks to technology and more innovation and globalization and things like that. The key elements of workplace change come down to acknowledging that change is a process, and we cannot fast track the process. So there's something called a change curve, and essentially we go through like anger and frustration and denial, and then acceptance and integration finally. And it's actually quite similar to a cycle that we go through when we grieve. So it's no wonder we don't like change, because it's a similar cycle to grief. So when we're dealing with workplace change, acknowledge it's a process. People go through it at different paces, and the pace between each stage is not necessarily the same. The other thing is that workplace change is something that we need to become more comfortable with at the end of the day. Yes, change comes with a certain element of fear, and that is completely normal, but what we need to do is not internalise it, we need to go and talk to people about it, and once again, things like writing it down, talking to people, and trying to have this objective analysis over it is really, really helpful. So that was from crappy to happy in 6 minutes or something like that, and I really hope that it's been of benefit.
And it really boils down to kind of taking control, right? I mean, a lot of people, when they feel the crappy side of their lives, it's because they feel out of control in some way. And these are some techniques that help you really get that control back.
Absolutely. And if you don't have control, then fear starts to creep in, and anxiety and stress, and then we're not operating at our peak performance. Productivity slumps, our health suffers, and it's a bit of a vicious cycle.
We are the value, right? Especially in the software industry. Without our minds, I mean, what do we provide, right? So thank you so much for being willing to show us this.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Don't forget to share this video on social media.
And comment below to be entered into our weekly giveaway.
Tell us what questions you have for our guests. See you next time.